Hello, beautiful people. It's a beautiful day. Decided to talk to you guys and answer a question that was asked to me about our journey and process of buying raw land. And okay, it's a lot. It's a lot to share. So I'm going to just give a short version, and my husband and I are trying to schedule when we can actually share all that we learned through this process. And the mindset was ready for it, I think. But so I got the question about our journey through the buying raw land and will we share? Oh, without a doubt, we would definitely love to share and inform everyone, because you don't want to go into something thinking that it's, I don't know, thinking that it's this fantasized, luxurious life that it might appear, depending on how someone is sharing it, right? You want to give all the details, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So you go in there knowing, okay, I was aware of this, so this is not a shock. So I'm going to try as much to give the short version of it so you have kind of the gist of it. We bought raw land. It was not the initial plan, but we talked about buying raw land. So we sold our home only for the purpose of being financially free, mortgage free, debt free, especially mortgage free. We had a sweet situation where we were. We were going to be able to pay off our house in a couple of years because the whole goal for our family was to be debt free, mortgage free. So we were, paying more on the interest so that we would have be able to pay off our house by 2027. I think we would have. Yes. But the decision was made to want to be out of debt now more sooner than later. And so that prompted our decision to sell our home. And again, we already knew that we would move. We came into our property saying that we would move in 5 years. We came in there knowing that we were going to move. We got complacent because we had a sweet situation. But then inflation hit, and we had a lot of wiggle room. Now things got a little tighter, and so we're like, okay, you know what? Let's go ahead and sell now than later. But our living situation and the environment that we were in was such a sweet deal. We had the best neighbor. We had one neighbor that was really close to us, so sweet. We grew food with no issues. We didn't struggle like some people had issues with rocks and stuff like that. When I say we had the sweetest situation, we had almost everything somebody would want living in the country, in a rural area. The only thing we didn't have is a well. Greenhouse, growing food, canning, dehydrating, doing a lot of things being self-sufficient. We didn't have the animal part of it of, growing chickens to grow eggs, to have eggs. So we didn't do that, but we had a sweet situation, no complaints. If I shared about country living, my nose is itching. I probably make people believe that they're going to go in here with no problems because our situation was so sweet. But anyway, the decision was decided to move, and we're at the 6-year mark. And we're like, oh, we said 5 years. So we're on year 6, and so we sold on year 6. We talked about buying raw land, but decided maybe not. My husband's like, oh no, it's too much work. We'll just focus on buying a house. So that's what we did. When we got a buyer for our home, it was crunch time. Now we really had to start looking for purchasing a home because we had a buyer and we had 30 days, right? A lot of faith in this. That's why I call it Anglade faith journey. And best believe through all of it, I see a deer. Through all of it, we prayed. It was prayer. And I have so much to say. Anyway, a lot of prayer. a lot of detailed prayer, a lot of talking to God with this process of all of it, the decisions that was made. Because when you know you invited God in it and you depended on Him and you're not just seeking your will, you was seeking His will, telling Him what you desire, getting Bible scriptures to back it up, and really talking to Him in every part of the journey and praying. Ain't nobody could tell you nothing. There'll be people thinking that telling you, oh, you shouldn't have bought this because of this price, or and they mean well, and it's fine, it's cool. It might be from family, it might be from friends, but when you with God and you talking to God, that doesn't mean you knock, counsel, but you make sure that you are so in tune to God that you have the peace of God. Ain't nobody could tell you. They could tell you something, but they can't tell you nothing. But a lot of praying. So anyway. So now we have to now we need to look for a place to stay. We had the option of staying with family members. So, but you want to be in your space. So we were looking for homes and did not find any. And I had prayed for this layout that I wanted. I said, okay, Lord, if we're going to move, this is what I want this time around. I said I want a long driveway, but not too long. So I just showed the driveway. I said I want a long driveway, but not too long because it could get expensive. But I want it long enough that I could not see my house from the road. So this is the road, and I'm going to turn. And this is over there where you would have to drive in to see our home. So you cannot see our home. You see our camper right there, but our home is over there. And you cannot see our home from the road. So I prayed for that. I prayed for a creek and a well. And lo and behold, we had 2 wells on the property. Because the other one got hit. We didn't know we had wells on the property, so it got hit. But we have a well behind over here. I could walk over there. So where you saw those 2 flags is where they marked it because we're connecting it to our home. And so we had a well. I also prayed for the creek, but that's a distance to walk to the creek. So, but this is what I prayed for. I said, Lord, I want a long driveway, but not too long because I don't want it to be too expensive because you got to maintain it. I said, I also want a well or a creek, but I would like both. I like both, but either one would do, but I want both. And I said, I want my house in the middle and surrounded by trees. We got trees. And that was important to me. What I did not specify is that for the house to be on the land. So be specific on your journey. I didn't pray for a house to be on that. I was more focused on the layout because that's what I wanted. But I also wanted a house, but I just assumed the house would be there. Be specific. So here we are. We were looking, and we only looked at houses. We were only looking at houses. Did not see anything that had my layout. And my husband said no land because it would be too much work. So okay, no problem. So we got a list of homes because at this point we had already been looking homes before, but now it's crunch time. And so we were looking for homes. He got me a list. He got a list of homes that he saw, and then I went to go look for more homes that we can add to the list to go see with the realtor. And then while I'm looking, I saw this land that the price range was within something that we would be willing to do. It was 5 acres for $55. We did try to get it lower, but they weren't budging. You got to shoot your shots. But it was within what we can afford. If we couldn't afford it, we wouldn't get it. And but it was perfect for us because the location was with an hour and 10 minutes from an hour and 16 from my parents, an hour and 10 from my sister. And before where we lived, it was an hour and 7 minutes. So it was within the parameter of the distance that we wanted to be by my family, especially my parents. And it had the layout I wanted. The creek we knew. So remember I said a creek or a well. We got the creek, didn't know it had a well. But anyway, we got the list of homes. And while I'm searching for more homes, I saw this piece of land. And of course, I saw the creek. I didn't know the layout exactly, but I'm like, I'm wrestling. Should I share it? Should I share it with my husband? Because he said no land because too much work. And I'm like, I'm debating. Should I? I'm wrestling with myself. Should I send them? Should I send them? And then I heard, just send it. So I sent it. And my husband texted back and said, hey, you want me to share this with the realtor? And I said, yeah. And I'm like, okay. He didn't say no because it's too much work and this is raw land. And so I'm like, okay. And so we go see the homes, right? And we didn't like any of them. Again, not my layout. Didn't have my layout. And we didn't like the home. So it was both. And so we get to the land that we're about to see. It was like maybe second to last. We had one more home that we were going to go see. We walked in, we drove in, and the driveway was already paved. We drive, so we're cleared. And so we're driving in. We get out the car, and you're like, this is it. Like, this is it. And so I didn't say anything because my husband did not know the detail of my prayer. And no one knew except for God. And so we walk around, we see the creek. I'm like, okay, Lord. And then my husband said, this is it. Hallelujah, right? My husband said, this is it. And so I'm like, okay, Lord, my husband and I agree. This is it. And that was the thing. Like, I might want something and he may not like, as far as like if he saw a property, he might like it and I don't. And we're like, And that's how we got our first home, which was all prayer as well. Claiming God's promises, coming together and touching and agreeing. And when we were looking at homes then, the first go round, we were not agreeing. And I like, okay, let's nip this in the bud. Let's agree that if you don't like a house, we don't get it. And if I don't like a house, we don't get it. But if we like a house, we get in it. Eliminate the discussions and going back and forth. And so he agreed, thank God. And when we agreed, when he found the house, I walked in and I walked around and I said, oh my gosh, this is it. Why? Because I wanted a house that had 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and wood floors. And that was my specifics. Of course, I wanted fruit trees on there too, but it didn't happen. But anyway, but it had that. And when I walked in, I said, this is it. When I came on here, I knew this was it, but my husband had to agree. And when he agreed the first time, we had a sweet situation. And when we agreed this time, I know God is with us. And so we both fell in love with the property. He had to say it out loud. I already knew what I had prayed for. And then I told him. And so what we said we were not going to do, what he said we were not going to do, we end up doing it. We end up getting raw land. And is it work? Yes, it's work. It is definitely work. It is definitely work. So there's a lot of things that we had to learn. A lot of things that we wanted to learn. So while we put the land on contract, we put a offer in. We offered what they wanted, and because we were selling our home and we got what we wanted. We did a lot of research. We made sure we hold the home. So we put our little $500 for to hold the home, for the contract. And then we did a research. Like, we watched a lot of videos on what we should be looking for, what we should be asking, what we should be doing before we do a full purchase. And that's what we're going to go over with you. The list of things that we found out that we needed. Now, does that mean you're going to find out everything? No, you may find some things after you bought land. Like one example, which was not a big deal per se, but it did put our move on the property a little bit. It delayed it a little bit, or delayed some things a little bit. So we thought, once we got our water put in, and same thing, we could do electricity with getting water put in, getting the meter water put in with the county. we didn't need to have anything on the house. I mean, any property, existing livable property on the land, and that could be an RV as well. Um, but with electricity, to put electricity pole or have electricity on the property, we had to have existing livable um, a livable property on the land. We had to have an RV or a house, mobile home, whatever, on the land, and before they could come out and put an electrical pole or even come out to your property. We didn't know that, and that was the only thing, far as to um, that was really the only thing. But we got water put in, so we're going to tell you our process for that. But yes, we did a perk test to make sure that we could get a septic tank put on the property. You can also do a perk test to make sure you can place a house on the property. But we did it to make sure the land perked, and we're not going to have an issue to be able to put a septic tank, or what type of septic tank, because it could get really high up there. And so that's what we did before. So our um, our contract was contingent on the soil perking, or getting the perk test done. Another test that you can also do is, what was the other one? Oh, you can also make sure, if they don't have documents already, it could be contingent that a survey is done on the property. You can ask them to pay for that, or you could pay for that, and that's if you want to make sure you got the everything in regards to the size of your land. I had one person that bought raw land, another family, they were paying for 17 acres, something like that, or 19 acres. And when they did the survey, it actually ended up being 17 acres, and they brought down the price. So that's something that you can also have contingent on, or do or not do, depending on if it matters to you or not. But yes, so we did that. Another thing that we did before purchasing fully the land, because we have a creek, we were blessed that it rained a lot around that time, and to see how high the water would go. And we had a lot of rain, and it was not even close to even overflowing. And then you can also talk to your neighbors, say, hey, when was the last time it flooded here? Did it ever flood here before? That doesn't mean that and then checking if you're in a flood zone area. That doesn't also mean, because of what's going on in the world right now, and what they're calling global warming or climate change, that doesn't mean because you do your due diligence that it can't come your way. We've seen different disasters that people are saying that we thought because we're in a mountain that this couldn't happen, and you just don't know. But you pray, you still do your due diligence. It's different when you walk into something because you didn't have asked any questions, or you ask questions and it still happened, but at least you did your due diligence. So those are some of the things that we did before purchasing the land. I wish I would have talked to another person, and knowing that we had a well on the property, then we would have known that we wouldn't have to hit that. But talking to your neighbors, asking about the land that you're purchasing, who owned it, what was done on the property, and those are the things that we did. We did ask about that before we bought and after we bought as well. We found a lot of things out that after we bought that was blessings, actually. But yes, talk to your neighbors. Are some of the things that I would advise your soon-to-be neighbors. Drive around the area on your block, on the block next to you, down the street. Do that a couple of times before you purchase, to make sure you feel comfortable with your surroundings, where the grocery store is going to be. Those are some of the things that we did. How far we have to travel. Nearest churches, if you belong to a church or a denomination that you go to, see around there. Like, there was a lot of things that, like, if you have kids, what activities and how far you have to drive for the activities. We were already used to driving at least 45 minutes to go somewhere for something for my son, so that we're still going to be driving that distance, maybe a couple of minutes more. But yes, those are the things that you want to look out if you have kids. And now, if you're older, so I'm hitting 50, right? I'm getting closer to 50, so I knew that I didn't want too much land, but if I did have too much land, how much I wanted to be cleared, because as you get older, things going to be too much for you. So we were thinking ahead of that as well. That if this property ended up being our forever property, I don't know. People ask me, is this your last move? I say I can't say. I said, I know I don't plan on moving 5 years, but I can't say this is my forever. I don't know what God's plans are, and I don't want to limit him and what he wants to do. And I don't ever want to be, it'd be hard for me to walk away from anything. I don't want to be so attached to something that I can't say I can't walk away from it. Right now, we plan to be here longer than we were in the first. If it just end up being our forever place, we will be fine with that. If God tell us to move, I'm sure he has something better and a better plan for us. So that's where I stand with that, legit. But I was also thinking about future, because I know most of the people that live on our block are elderly. And one guy was already talking about he's thinking about maybe downsizing, because he has so much. I think he has 20 something, 30 something acres, and it's getting too much for him to take care of. Those are the things that I thought about. So think about that depending on your age. If you're, 50s and up, think about that. How much you would have to take care of as you get older. I know another couple that they're thinking about downsizing because it's becoming too much for them. But they do have animals, they have garden, they have so much. So think about all of that. Your capability of handling the time that you have to handle some of these things. The more land you have that is clear, the more land that's more you have to upkeep. So those are some of the things that I thought about when we were purchasing how much land we purchased. And we were perfect with 5 acres. Right now, I think we cleared maybe about 1 acre. We'll probably think about more later on as we looked at to see what we're going to put on our property, what we're going to use as business for business purposes, whether it's food, whether it's getting bees for honey, chickens for eggs. Some of this is if my child is going to be involved in it. But just thinking about ways to bring income, especially with inflation, that people can use as well as what we can use, and be able to barter, because things are going to change. So we're thinking about stuff like that in the future. But yes, getting to know your neighbors, talking to your neighbors, checking out the land, finding out, make sure that it's buildable, that it's able to put a septic tank, and what type of septic tank, getting those tests, and those fees are there for that as well. And so you got to know everything costs. And so you make decisions on what you think is necessary and what you think is not necessary. The journey, like somebody told us who had bought raw land, I can't say they did all the research they needed to do, but they said it's a lot of unknowns. And that's true. There's some things you're not going to know. There's some things that we're not going to know, but that's why you do a lot of research. You ask a lot of questions, as much as you can remember or think about, and you just continue to pray that God bless what you did not know and help you through what you did not know to ask, or put in your mindset to ask those things. So far, I really don't have any complaints, and I learned through my journey not to murmur, because there was some murmuring involved. If you watch the video about me, I think talking about our faith journey in this, but and then deciding we had decided that we were going to build, and then we changed our mind because of the time span and then how much it would put us in debt. We didn't want to have any, but it is doable to build. Making sure we had people that we could use. We had list of people. I talked to people that gave us list of people that we could use, but we just decided to go the mobile home route. We're staying in an RV currently that we bought, and we bought a used mobile home double wide that we're converting into real estate. And what that means is we converted our home to not being a mobile home, to where it's stationary on permanent foundation, and we're doing everything in the home to transfer into a actual home. So the walls, the windows, the roofing, and that keeps us still within being having that goal of being financially free and having a legitimate home. And Yeah, so that's the short version of it, and we're still in the process right now of renovating. God has blessed us with people. I'm telling you, so many blessings. um and I'm like, okay, we got the blessings. What's coming around the way? Because Satan got to show his head. But either way, we got to be anchored in Christ. So whatever good, the bad, and the ugly, you can give God praise in all of it. And so our home should be probably done by, at least the inside, by early September or late August or the end of August, and then we'll save up and then get the outside done as well. And that's it. That's it in a nutshell. But we will give you the list of things that you should know, or you can start looking at videos and educating yourselves on things that you should look for and should be doing and should be thinking about in detail. And just staying prayed up, and don't glamorize anything. And try as much to have the heart and mind to be prepared for everything. But like the Bible says, worry about nothing and pray about everything. And that's all I have to share with you today. But I love it. I'm glad for it. It's definitely a character building. God has talked to me through this process of correcting my character and checking me. But when we were helping with the getting the trenches in, and that's the thing too, long driveway, that means the cost may be higher. That's why I did not want a long driveway, too long, but I knew I wanted my house away. And because you're doing everything from scratch, away from the road, and it's because you're doing everything from scratch, when you have the house away from the road, it costs a little bit more for plumbing, because you got to do the line longer. And that's why you see a lot of houses that are closer to the road, because it's cheaper for the line, for the electricity line, for the water line. So just understand, like, everything costs, and be mindful, what is it that you want, and if this is going to increase the fees as well. Yeah, so that's it. But yes, oh yeah, that's what I was saying. So we were helping the plumber, which is a church member of ours. Again, so many blessings. We paid, but it was just knowing people that that does this type of work, that is right there, and that you can trust. So while we were helping putting the sand over, and we were doing this work. This is work, mind you, that I didn't have to do at our first home. And while we were working, I'm like, oh, there are new lessons. God brought me out here. God brought my husband and my son out here for new lessons. When we were so good, like it's almost like you got to the point there was nothing to learn more where you were at, far as that country living experience and character building that God had to take us to another level, where there's things now that we have to learn, some humbling experiences of living in a camper, and so we're having this new experience that is allowing us to hear his voice and to speak to him more, and to get new lessons, and to know how to work in a different level that may be useful for us later on, or to educate people. So I'm like, Lord, this is more than just us buying raw land. This is more than just us moving out here. This is to get the education that you're trying to teach us, mentally, physically, and spiritually, if we're open to learn and to seek him. So that's it. And how long was this video? 20 something minutes. So if you rode with me through it all, you're a ride or die, right? Okay. Until next time, this is our journey, a journey of faith. That doesn't mean everything is peaches and cream. That doesn't mean everything is going to always be sweet and beautiful. But you'll know that God is with you anyway, even in the storm. Until next time, bye-bye.